Hollywood views this ultimately as an opportunity. Oh, it's also terrible for like small independent movie theaters. You know, the big ones, the chains, they can probably, weather the storm, but the independent theater is going to have a problem.
I miss popcorn.
Well, they do sell it at the grocery store. It's never as
It's
good though.
not as good. And I don't even need butter on the popcorn. In fact, I don't like butter on the popcorn. I just like when it's hot, it's so good too. When it's freshly popped. I really miss popcorn. Not gonna lie. I like the experience of sitting in the theater, eating popcorn. I have some interesting popcorn eating habits. If you want, I'll share them. I take the ball, the popcorn has the ball and the little things around it.
Yes.
So I bite off all the little things around it with the kernel parts. And then I'm just left with like a soft ball, like a puff. I do that to a bunch of them. And then I just have the puffs only. It's really good. It's really good. It's almost like turns the popcorn into like the cheese puffs, not the doodles, but puffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it with Diet Coke.
Popcorn Diet Coke. That's a
Yeah,
good combo.
it's really good combo. Yeah, so good.
That's why I love talking to you, Katie. I feel like I'm on an episode of Seinfeld.
Thank you. I'd rather Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I'll take that too.
Hey,
Do you
either
watch?
way,
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. I like Curb too. Curb too. Why you? We haven't talked about this. We meant to talk about this.
What?
Why you like Curb? Why you like Curb but not Seinfeld?
Okay, because Seinfeld is always like trying not to laugh at his own joke. You know that expression. He's like, it's obnoxious. I'm like, you're not that funny. And because I find Larry David, because Larry David is, even though George is supposed to be Larry David, right, on Seinfeld,
Yeah.
but George as Larry David as himself is much funnier to me than the character of Seinfeld. Also, it's like it's not as corny because it's not the same sitcom style, and there's cursing. It just seems much more. Oh my god, there's so many funny episodes of that show.
Oh, so
What did
you
I?
like it because it's slightly edgier.
Oh yeah, it's much edgier. Seinfeld always, I have to admit though, Seinfeld. Maybe if I'd watched a bunch in a row, I'd like it because my friend Joya, shout out to Joya, made me watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I didn't like the first episode. She's like, was like, Katie, you got to do this, and she made me watch a bunch in a row, and then I
You
got
got it.
into Curb. Because at first I thought Curb was like self-indulgent, inside jokes, the same way I do with Seinfeld. So maybe I'd enjoy Seinfeld. Maybe I should give it a try.
Yeah, like I can't imagine liking one, not liking the other ultimately. Because the first time I watched Curb, I didn't like it at all. I thought it
Mm.
was garbage. But when I watched a few episodes of it, I got really into it. It's one of my favorite shows. So I would definitely recommend like binge some Seinfeld. You don't want to start with the first season. Start with like season 3, and then you can go back later eventually to it. But you want to start with you like season 3, and it is really good. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the dynamics. And like if Elaine, there's no character like Elaine in Curb. It's so focused on Larry and his friends. Is much more of a masculine show
Huh,
than
yeah.
like than
Then
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, yeah.
Yeah, Seinfeld has like Elaine has her own like
World.
orbit of
Right.
characters, her own world, her boyfriends, her bosses. Like she has her own like thing going on from her perspective as a woman, and you don't really get that in Curb. It's almost always just from like Larry's
Right.
perspective.
Because the wife is totally the straight man.
Yeah, yeah, the life
Cheryl.
is 100. Yeah, Cheryl doesn't ever get to do.
Larry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what she
Larry.
said all the time. Now it works with her
Right.
because Larry is such a horrible person
Right.
that you spend the entire time just like being amazed that she bothers to
Right.
put up with him. Like
Right.
that sort of like nagging wife usually is terrible in a show, but because Larry is so obviously
Yeah.
horrible, it makes she's actually incredibly reasonable.
Yeah, you're sympathize
Like
with her. Yeah.
almost too reasonable. Like you could get mad at her for being too nice to
Right.
him because he's
Right.
so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, but she doesn't actually have her own funny stuff happening usually because Larry has to be so horrible. But she is a like good actress.
She's a very good actress.
I
Yeah.
saw her in something else.
What
I
was she
forget. She was
in?
really funny.
But she was, yeah, she's really good. I mean, she's really good at improv. It's funny, like, so, like, Jeff, I guess, and I think Richard, what's his name? Richard Lewis is funny too.
Richard Lewis is really great. Yeah,
Yeah.
Richard Lewis is great.
Um, and they just play themselves. They play each other. And I love when you can tell that things weren't written into the script, like weren't planned. Like there's this one episode where they're just standing somewhere, sitting somewhere. I remember, and Larry takes like a sip of coffee, and he's like, "That's a good cup of coffee." Like there's nothing there. He just says it and like laughs at himself, kind of.
Good night, James. Thank you for
Good night,
staying up
James.
with us.
Do you see what I think is so interesting about comedy is when it like is so niche, but niche in a universal way, which is what a lot of the best comedy is, right? Like people who don't know New York City Jews like Seinfeld.
Yeah. Because it gives you a peek into like a world, a different world, and it feels like an authentic peak, kind of
Right.
like it, even though Seinfeld is still like very kind of orchestrated '90s sitcom, it
Right.
still has like this life and vibrancy to it because they like have so many random people and so many neighbors and boyfriends and people they get in fights with on the street and delis and donut shops and soup
Right.
shops, and like it just gives you like this real, like it just feels like a real world unto itself, or like a peek into another life. And I think Curb does a pretty good job of that too. But Curb, for this is bringing it back to the politics, to the class analysis. Curb is based on like the real life rich ass Larry
Yeah.
David. David now, who's
Yeah.
very rich. All his friends are rich, and like the show doesn't like ignore this, but it is in that very, very like bougie world. Like when
Right.
it came out, when they put out the new season, it took me a while to kind of get back into the world after like Bernie Sanders, like how you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm after the 2016
Right.
election, where
Exactly.
class is at the forefront, and you just have these rich douchebags and their fake problems all the time. It takes a while, to get into the world.
And
Seinfeld's a
they're
little
cousins.
different.
They're cousins, right? They're related, right?
Yeah, I do.
Speaking of
Yeah.
Henry Louis Gates, he revealed the. Did you guys see that when he revealed their DNA results? Did you see that, Leslie?
No, I didn't see that video. I just heard about it. I didn't watch it. Yeah.
Kelly, am I allowed to show a little bit of that? Can I clip it out later? I'm asking my producer, Kelly.
If
But
you get
apparently,
stream banned.
yeah. Am I going to get stream banned? Can I show like 20 seconds? What's the rule?
The rule is that wherever the mega corporation decides to take down your channel,
Right.
that goes. That's the only rule. I say that from experience with friends. One of our contributors, Shannon Strucci, she's famous for making the videos about parasocial relationships, and she had like a 3-second clip, and like her things are like documentaries, so she has fair use to
Yeah.
show clips of things. But like they took down this video. This has tons and tons of views. Everybody's talking about it on the internet. They took it down because of like this small clip from a song from someone who's on, I think, maybe Universal Music Group, and they took it down, and they would not tell her why they took it down. They would literally not tell her why they took it down. It took her months to just get told, this is the small part of your video that was offensive, that was flagged, so you can remove it and put it back up. And the only reason she ever found that out was because somebody at YouTube likes her videos and was able to personally help her with it. So that's the only way. Like if you have any problems,
Wow.
like don't go to customer service. Like,
Wow.
go to LinkedIn and see who
Yeah,
actually works at the company that can maybe get something done for you.
that's crazy. Yeah. Well, it's very cute when he finds out. He's like, "You're kidding. Get out of here." It's very cute.
Oh
So,
yeah, I did. I remember that. I remember your
see,
impression. Yeah, yeah.
I brought it to you. I tapped into, yeah, that was, and he was like a Buddha Judge donor, Larry. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, the whole point of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld kind of is that Larry David is a piece of shit. He's a funny
Right.
piece of shit, but he's a piece of shit. So I'm
Well,
not
you know what's
surprised.
very interesting about him is that he also has a real like moral code. Like he's an asshole and he's selfish and a piece of shit, but he has this moral code. Like remember, he won't laugh. He won't dance with his wife in front of a widow, and he won't acknowledge playing golf in front of a guy in a wheelchair.
Like he has these weird. So
They sound so rabbinical when you say them out
is
loud.
it a moral code, or is it like stubbornness complying with like some sort of reactionary discomfort with certain things, not wanting to be displeased, or is it like real moral indignation? I think you can probably come away saying
That's where the
either
Bernie
one.
that's where the Bernie relative comes in.
Yeah,
That's the Bernie side of the family
it's the
coming
Bernie
through
side
and
of the
his
family.
moral indignation. Yeah. No, I think that I honestly do think that he is like, I think he thinks it's wrong. Like I think some of the things he dislikes are also things that he thinks are
Are
wrong.
wrong, truly
Yeah.
wrong, truly
Like
wrong,
not just annoying, but wrong. Like, okay, so there's the
wrong,
ridiculous
wrong.
stuff like when he goes out to, oh my god, it's so funny when he and Mary Steenburgen and Ted Danson and the wife, they all go out bowling, and Larry's like, Mary's great. I could do without Ted. Calls everything heaven. Everything's heaven enough. And the next day you hear him, he gets a phone call. It's like, hello? He's like, oh hi Mary. Yeah, I had a great time last night. Oh my god, it was just heaven. Oh, really? He does? I didn't even know this. That. And then they go out shopping, and he picks up the Mary Sternbergen's mom is in town for whatever reason. They go shopping, and he picks up her glass, his own glass, he thinks, and she's like, "Oh, Larry, honey, that's mine," and he like spits it out. Like that's just
Oh yeah.
like that's
I remember.
quirky and like annoying. There's no justice or ethics there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do feel like the thing with the wife, the playing golf. And then there's the like very cynical, like his mom died, so he's like using that as an excuse for everything.
Yeah. He does, and he also like whenever he feels like he's been treated unfairly, he will not ever let it go,
Right.
right? Like, is that a moral? Is that moral things? Like, does he feel? And sometimes they do show that do show like someone else with the same problem or somebody else with a little problem.
Yeah.
He'll like step in and say, "This is wrong," and I'm
Yeah.
going to take it to this
Right. Yeah.
extreme and make everything worse. He does do that a lot. Like with remember he meets the blind gentleman, and like he was
Yes.
having some issue, and Larry David
Yes.
like took it to like this next level, where he like escalated, and it's like, so he, I don't know, maybe he's a like he maybe his heart is somewhat in the right
Yeah.
place, even though his head is not.
Yeah. It's funny. Yes, I agree. And then what's the other? But that also, remember, they're walking down the street, and the blind guy is asking for help moving. And he's like, "Can you guys help me? I have to move for a little bit."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Larry David, like, who's there with Richard Lewis, shakes his head, doesn't say anything. He shakes
Yeah.
his head no, and Richard Lewis is like, "You're gonna say no to a blind guy?" And Larry's
Yeah.
like, "How are you gonna say it? Like, I didn't in front of a blind guy." And then, then they help him for hours. The
Yeah.
editing on that show was so good.
Yeah.
It's a great montage of them moving his stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the end they're talking, and Larry accuses him of of taking advantage of them.
Oh yeah,
And Richard's like, his blind license.
yeah, yeah, he gets
Oh
super
God.
pissed off because he feels like he's been treated unfairly
Yeah.
by the guy. Oh, somebody cognitive says in the chat, Katie, you should check out Peep Show. My wife really likes
Oh, okay.
Peep Show. I can't watch. It's too intense. Like it's all the angles are like just like head on with the person. It's like a thing, just a thing they do. Like all the angles are like front facing, like this, like that film technique they used in like the late '90s, early 2000s. A lot was it Demi that used it a lot in the Manchurian Candidate remake. Anyway, every scene is like that. So sometimes it's too intense for me. I can't relax. It's a very funny show and very good actors, but it's like very much like in feels like in your face, like you're watching. I don't know, like some David Lynch thing too as well.
Right. Okay, I'll watch it. It's a comedy or
Yeah, always it's a comedy. It's a very like it's kind of similar. It's kind of it shares some DNA with Curb. It definitely shares some Curb. Yeah, yeah. It's all first person POV.
did you like the episode about the Seder, the Passover Seder